Participant-Oriented Evaluation Approaches by Heather, Aruj, Kimberly, and Sat. We will focus on the following topics as we go through our presentation. Participant-oriented evaluation is an evaluation approach focused primarily on serving the needs, interests, and values of those participating in the program. This approach emphasizes the fact that evaluations are done for particular participants whose values vary and must be addressed in fair and systematic ways, especially if justice is to be met and the participants are to have sufficient interest in using the evaluation results. Indeed, over time, evaluation has become increasingly attentive to the needs and interests of wider and more diverse groups of people associated with the topics being evaluated. Fitzpatrick, Sanders, and Worthen suggest it is important that evaluators have knowledge of the theories and approaches, but avoid labeling their evaluative technique as one approach or another. The evaluative process will likely draw from aspects of the various approaches in order to best suit your context. Quote, "Many approaches, as with theories, are proposed by the authors, not with the intent to be practiced literally in the way the author describes, but to inspire evaluators and other users of evaluation to consider the concepts and their utility in building evaluation capacity or facilitating use." The two key approaches to participant-oriented evaluation have different roots in their origins and end goals. Practical participatory evaluation supports organizational and program decision-making and problem-solving without making an explicit commitment to effecting social change. Transformative participatory evaluation makes an upfront commitment to democratize social change and to empowering people through participation in the process of constructing and respecting their own knowledge. Despite these differences, PPE and TPE have substantial similarities. For example, a PPE may well empower its participants, and a TPE could also have practical value. Central to both approaches is the creation of valid local data based on the practitioner's perspectives. The following key terms are mentioned in our presentation that warrant close attention and possible further exploration. Participant-oriented evaluation theorists have identified 3 dimensions to help distinguish among the various approaches. These dimensions help evaluators to analyze their own participative approach. First, when designing and facilitating evaluations, one needs to consider whether the evaluator maintains sole control or whether the stakeholders have primary control over the process, with the evaluator only providing technical support. Second, one needs to consider the diversity of the stakeholders. At one end of the continuum, the evaluator would select only the primary users, such as the managers or the people who fund the evaluation, and at the other end of the continuum, all legitimate stakeholders would be involved. Third, one must consider the depth of participation throughout the different phases of the evaluation. Do they have a limited participatory role, or are they involved in every phase? Robert Stake's responsive model introduced a new approach that was flexible and adaptive to the circumstances of the program. Guba and Lincoln's approach represent the multiple realities seen by stakeholders. Cousins and Whitmore's participatory evaluation approach is participative in that they involve a range of stakeholders. Michael Patton discusses the role of the evaluator. Stake developed the countenance framework. In it, he described 2 basic acts of evaluation: description and judgment. Stake believed that evaluation should provide a full description of the program and entity being evaluated, and then make a judgment of its merit or worth. Stake's responsive evaluation stressed the importance of being responsive to realities in the program and to the reactions, concerns, and issues of the participants. Guba and Lincoln proposed that the authenticity of a study was established by its fairness and by its ability to raise stakeholders' awareness of issues, to educate them to the views of other stakeholders, and to help them move to action. The naturalistic evaluator observes the program and its actions, its participants and staff in its natural environment, and through observations, documents, and records, interviews, and unobtrusive measures comes to understand and describe the program. Cousins and Whitmore suggest that contemporary participative approaches can be narrowed to 2 primary types. Practical participatory evaluation is used for practical reasons, limited to the program being evaluated and the organization in which it resides. Transformative evaluation is to transform and to empower stakeholders who have been relatively powerless by their participation in action research or evaluation. Michael Patton is known for his utilization-focused evaluation approach and his developmental evaluation, which he also sees as an option in the utilization-focused process. In his developmental evaluation, Patton moves the evaluator into the planning and implementation of programs or other developmental activities of the organization. The stakeholders aren't members of the evaluation team, but the developmental evaluator is a member of the program team. Practical participatory evaluation is best suited for formative evaluation. In this approach, the context of the program is of utmost importance, and learning about the organization and the context in which it operates is key because knowledge and information is socially constructed. The evaluator acts as a coordinator who works in partnership with primary stakeholders by communicating and collaborating. Primary stakeholders are likely to be the potential users of the evaluation. Deliberative democratic evaluation operates under the principle of democracy, where social justice and equality are the ultimate goal. Many stakeholders are included in this approach. An awareness of power differentials is noted, and evaluators using this approach return to this reality frequently. Dialogue and deliberation are key aspects of this approach, giving those who are underprivileged an equal voice. House and Howe note that this approach is idealistic and unlikely to be fully implemented in its entirety. Stakeholders have knowledge and perspectives that evaluators do not have. They know about the program and its context firsthand. Stakeholders know the history of the program, its successes, failures, struggles, what other programs they're considering, and budgetary or time constraints. For these reasons, it makes sense to include stakeholders in the evaluation process. Their involvement helps stakeholders gain trust in the evaluation, better understand the process, and consider how they might apply the results. Ultimately, the use of results increases and capacity has been built within the organization. It is not an easy task to include stakeholders in terms of time and costs, especially in obtaining participation from disadvantaged groups. Evaluators are trained in research methods and may need to develop people skills while using these approaches. One is also left to wonder, are stakeholders able to be objective about their own programs? Presented here are several possible scenarios that might call for the use of a participant-oriented evaluation. Note that each scenario would put the perspectives and values of the stakeholders as the highest priority. These are our discussion questions. We ask you to respond to one of them and post on D2L. References. Thank you for your time and learning about participant-oriented evaluation.